Hello, and welcome to Friendship, Wellness, and Wisdom with your hosts, Heather and Rachel.
Together, we're here to talk about all things self-care, from fitness to mindfulness and everything in between.
Whether it's yoga, Tai Chi, Pilates, or practices like tapping and meditation, we're here to help you discover new ways to care for yourself.
We'll also share tips on positive self-talk, finding time for self-care, and creating routines that stick.
We're here to provide you with plenty of tips, tricks, and unsolicited life advice.
Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Join our community, and together we can explore the path to wellness. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Friendship, Wellness, and Wisdom. Today we are here discussing Heather's new Muse Circle community that she started. She's been doing some of these communities in person and also online. And we're just going to kind of go through what that space is about, what that looks like. And we're going to talk about a little bit of what we discussed. I joined in last week on her online because, I'm not flying across the country, although that would be nice. So we zoomed in last week and I really enjoyed the topics that we were discussing. And when we were coming up with what to discuss for the podcast episode, I said, you know what, let's just go over what we talked about during the community, our Muse Circle. I'm like, I'll get used to it. I'll get used to it.
Yeah.
And let's go over that.
The logistics are, it's new. We've had 5 meetings, so it could change. Right? I'm not married to it by any means.
I'm just looking for something to call it so I don't keep saying
community. That's it.
So yeah, the community.
The community. Yeah.
So what I thought was great about it was the questions that kind of got started with is what are you looking for in a community? And I thought that was really great because sometimes it's so hard to find that right group of people that you kind of click with and you have those shared interests with, or even if you don't have any of that stuff, a safe space where you can kind of voice your opinion and listen to what other people have to say and have a safe space, right? So I'm just going to kind of turn it over to you for a minute and kind of describe what it is that you're looking to create. Give people the information about it. So if they are interested in joining, that they have all the information possible. And then we'll kind of go over what we discussed last week.
Yeah. So I started my business. I did the Bountiful Yogi. That was kind of a coaching space to coach people for holistic wellness and things like that. But then I merged Sea Life as a Muse and the Bountiful Yogi. And then me coaching kind of worked into just me coaching people through private lessons of yoga and things of that nature. But with the world being what it is right now, I thought, people need to come together with no pressure, right? No expectations, no, nothing preempted, like nothing that you want to come into a space and you want to show up exactly as you are, right? No extra anything. Like we already have extra everything all over the place. We have pressures coming from work and family and society and things like that. And so I thought it would be really nice to create a free space that people could get holistic information and have people like-minded somewhat. I mean, we're not all the same, obviously, thank goodness. But
hopefully at least open-minded and accepting of others' views.
Yeah, like-minded as in they want to kind of create a peaceful, a peaceful space pretty much. And so I decided, okay, I started a Discord And in the Discord, I started just reaching out to people I knew and things like that and inviting them to the Discord. And then some of them are local, in my town. Some of them are my yoga people. And I invited them to in person. And then I was like, you know what? I really want to open this up to people that possibly don't have people right next to them, possibly maybe live in a town that doesn't have holistic wellness, doesn't believe in holistic wellness, doesn't have people to talk to on that level. And so I started doing Zoom groups. And so it turned out to be really nice because people pop in, pop out. Some days we have 4 people, some days we have 3 people, some days we have 5 people, it all depends on what's going on in people's lives. And there's no big commitment, right? You come in, you sit for your time, you talk, you feel comfortable talking. You don't have to talk if you don't want to, you can just listen. Yeah, so I just wanted to create a place where we can hold space for each other in everyday life. Pretty simple, really.
Yeah, no, and I love the idea of that. I feel like it's just such a great and welcoming kind of idea. I have never been great on like looking for groups, finding groups,
Hmm. Yeah,
in-person stuff. I just never seem to, the timing for me is always like a little off. And every once in a while I'll make it and I'll get there. But something like this where it's on Zoom
hmm,
for me was a really nice, like, okay, I can sit in my bed or like hang out in my office.
right.
And the conversation was great. And it was really nice to just talk about these topics and be honest
Mhm.
and open and see what, how other people felt about similar things.
Right. And I also think too, having the Discord, people being able to be in the Discord. Some of the people are in the Discord, they participate in Discord and they don't come to the meeting,
Right.
right? And so that fits into their schedule and is super
Yeah.
comfortable.
I need to check
Um,
that out a little bit more
and
too. That's
so
a
the
definitely
Discord
have to be.
has a whole bunch of stuff on it. It has breath work, it has in-body movement, it has mindset work, it has um, let's see, it has inspirational quotes, it has mudras and affirmations and all this fun stuff that I find fun anyway. Um, all this stuff that I help people with,
It's
on
your
a day.
kind of fun.
Yeah, it's my kind of fun. But that I help people with on a daily basis. And, it's not like this great in-depth coaching or anything like that, but it is just something for people to stop in and kind of just check in if they don't want to be a part of the actual face-to-face community or they don't want to be on the online space like Zoom, And if you're on the Zoom, you can still be on the Discord and meet up with people and connect and things like that. So I tried to make it as accessible. And then I started a Buy Me a Coffee where you can see what we're doing, but just because I need to be a little sustainable, where you can buy meditations, you can buy my coloring book, and it talks about the same things we talk about on the Discord and the things that we talk about in the meetings and things like that.
Really nice. So I'm just gonna read like a couple of the questions and we can discuss each one, like just things that we talked about, and I'm gonna cheat and read off my phone
Yeah,
some of the
you're
things
fine.
that we brought up last week. So the first question basically is just, what does being a part of a real, in person or online, real time community mean to you right now? Which was great because then I feel like you get a sense of who's there, what they're looking for, and some of the new things that you could possibly bring up as future discussions.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm gonna go with two. I'm gonna read the second one. What helps you feel comfortable, seen, or supported when you're in a group like this? And I feel like that right there is just like kind of getting to know, who's there, what they're looking for, and how, everyone involved can sort of better serve the community and make each other feel comfortable, which is
Right.
really a nice, it's like just a nice welcoming sense. And, it's a good vibe to come into the space.
Right. And I feel like it helps you relieve the pressure, right? some people don't are looking for community, but they don't really know what they're looking for. They want to be part of something, but they're not really sure even like where to start. Like you said,
Absolutely.
like where timing wise and all, like where do I start? And I think that's important. I think community right now is probably the most important thing for us to navigate what we're going through as a world. And I think we really got away from community just because we we have all got lives that are busy, and there's expectations about productivity and doing more and being busy and all this stuff. And it kind of gives you an hour to be with people that feel exactly like that. And it gives you time to slow down, if not for a longer period of time, at least an hour.
Yeah, I mean, that's really nice. Anytime like that, I think to just slow down, to kind of be present,
Yeah,
listening to what others are saying. And then sometimes you go through questions and you answer them and you hear yourself saying stuff and you're like, wow, I didn't even know I felt that way until it just came out of my mouth, which is
yeah,
pretty amazing,
true.
right? Because I went in and my life has just been super hectic lately and I hadn't looked at the questions or anything yet. So I was like, I didn't know what I was looking for when I walked in. And
Right.
surprisingly enough, I found answers
Yeah,
as we went through it, which was really nice because me, I usually like to be prepared or have some kind of an idea what an
right.
answer what kind of answer I want to
Yeah,
have, and I get a little nervous when I don't do that little bit of prep.
yeah.
I know
And
because I
that's
look so polished, right? So
yeah. But that's one of the community rules, right? One of my community rules for my Discord, my in-person, and my Zoom meetings are show up as you are, right? I don't expect to be perfect all the time. I don't expect to be perfect anytime. And the reality is, I show up the best I can, and sometimes the best I can is probably somebody else's worst. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I
I
do.
think the key is really showing up, and a true community kind of holds space for the people that need to show up messy or need to show up unprepared or whatever. And that's what makes community, right? My weakness, hopefully you have the strength for my weakness and I have the strength for your weakness. And then we kind of hold each other up and get through it.
I think that's the point of the community, right? Just
Right.
having that strength, that space, that help, that whatever it is that you need.
Yeah, totally.
And even if it's just to sit there quietly and listen to everyone else
Yeah.
or to, say everything you need to say.
Yeah, and I think having the board, the Discord, is also such a great place because I think people sometimes come to the meetings and don't have anything to say, and then they leave the meeting and they think about it and they're like, you know what? Yeah, I feel like this, or I need this,
Hmm.
or and so then they do have a place to come back to, and kind of touch base with the people that they just met with, which is nice.
Yeah, no, I need to take a closer look at that and see some of that stuff because I do sometimes just want that, like, you know what? Today is not the day for me to be chatting with everyone else, but I really need something. And then just to be able to go on, see what's there, to utilize that
Right.
on my own sometimes is definitely a better place for me to be, especially at the
Right.
end of the day.
Yeah.
So, like, sometimes at the end of the day, I'm just like, you know what? I've done all the talking that I want to do for
Right.
today, and I need to sit here and breathe,
Right.
and that's it. Like,
Yeah. And sometimes it's nice to just go on and read and support somebody else when you don't feel that was so hot,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Sometimes when you support somebody else, you feel better, right? You make somebody else feel better and you feel better because you supported somebody else. And so it's nice to get on there and be able to kind of like read through some things and be like, you know what? I'm gonna give you a like, and I'm gonna give you some input, or I'm going to congratulate you because you made it through a tough day, or
Yeah,
whatever
absolutely.
the case may be. And so that's always nice too, to just have that in your back pocket, that you're just not alone. And it's nice
Yeah, no,
when you're not alone.
I have to say, I got to give a lot of credit to anyone who shows up and puts themselves out there and
Hmm.
just shares like what it is that what works for them, what doesn't work for them. Like,
Right.
hey, this really helped me. This is, something I teach. This is something that could be really helpful for you. And here, like, I have this information. I'm going to put it out here for you because that's not the easiest thing to do,
Right. No.
and it takes lots of times just to take that and to put it out there. There are plenty of times like, I've started doing stuff and then stopped or like hesitated. It's quite a lot to be able to, continually put stuff out there. And when people are doing that, they appreciate it when you say,
Mhm.
hey, you know what? Thank you for that. That was great. Like, good job.
Right.
Thanks for doing that.
I think people that give other people that credit, like, hey, thanks for showing up, even though you showed up and you didn't want to, but I
Yeah.
thank you for doing it anyway. We need that. We need that encouragement for everybody should feel like they have a purpose. And, your purpose doesn't have to be this vision of grandeur, right? Your purpose could just be smiling at somebody that day and making somebody else smile, right? You never know what somebody else is going through, and you never know how you're going to affect somebody else. So just showing up as you are really is the most important thing, you know? And being willing to hold space for yourself, hold space for others, and also be willing for people to hold space for you, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
no, I know it's
that's
funny
hard.
because that is very difficult. That's something I think I probably struggle with the most out
Hmm.
of all of those things is really, having that happen.
Right. And sometimes we don't want to take help. We don't want to take, a shoulder to lean on. We want to do it ourselves. We don't want to be a burden. We don't want to, we don't want to put ourselves out there because we feel silly or, we feel like our problems are not, not big enough to share or too big to share or whatever the case may be. And when you can become part of a community, it's important. It's important to be in a space where you don't feel less than, right? You
Yeah.
feel like you're here for a reason and you're being supported and you're supporting others. And I think that's important. And granted, I don't think my community or this community is everybody's cup of tea. I say that about being a yoga teacher. You could love tea, but I could not be your cup of tea, right? I could be the wrong flavor for you, and that's
There
okay.
you go.
And so the
You
same
could be
with,
loaded with milk and sugar and I want honey.
yeah, exactly. And so the logistics of um, having this conversation today is really like for people to go out and try. I mean, you can try this community where, you could sit at this table. We're more than welcome to have you. But the fact of the matter is, this might not be the community for you. Maybe your community is more workout friendly. Maybe your community is more book friendly. Maybe your community is, you know what I mean? There's
Right.
so many communities out there, and I invite people that feel like they're in a space alone to actually try to find a community that will hold space for them and that they can hold space for. Or I encourage people to start their own community and actually lead a charge of, creating space for people to come and feel comfortable. If you like it, somebody else likes it too. I promise you. I promise you.
Yeah, right. Even though it might be a little difficult, but if you start looking, whatever you look for, your brain will find for you. So, it's
Yeah,
just
totally.
start looking for other people who like the things that you like, and
Yeah,
somehow, somewhere, you'll find
yeah,
them.
totally. It's nice. It's nice to be able to navigate what's going on and not be alone while you're navigating it. You know, whether we want to believe it or not, we are more alike than we think as human
Yeah, we're
beings.
we're always trying. I think that's as humans, we're always trying to be special. So we have
Hmm.
special problems and we have special pain and we have special whatever,
Right.
and no one else could ever possibly understand what it is we're going through. And I've been there like more than once. And I'm like, and then you talk to people. And what I really loved about doing what about doing this and having these questions and kind of going around and having people answer. The best part for me anyway is hearing the similar answers or having someone touch on something that you felt but didn't really quite know how to say. And the connection that that builds is huge
Right.
because I'm not always the best with words. I have a lot of great thoughts and ideas, and sometimes I can write them out a lot better than I can vocalize them, but I will stumble over my words sometimes. So to come to like a group thing where there's questions and everyone's kind of answering the same thing, to hear other people say close to the same thing,
Hmm.
maybe in a little bit of a different way, it really just kind of strengthens, all the similarities that really are there and all the ways that we are similar and
Hmm.
all the things that we are, looking for that someone else is looking for and wanting the things that someone else wants. And it really does make you feel a lot, less alone.
Right. And I also think that sometimes, and you and I have had this discussion, I've had this discussion with my husband, there are things that we tolerate as human beings, and don't even think that they're an issue. Like, don't
Mhm.
even comprehend that it might be uncomfortable for us because we're used to it,
Right.
or we're not even sure that, we should be complaining about something or we should be trying to find a resolution for something because we're kind of like in a situation that we've been in for a long time or whatever. And when you are in a group that somebody else says A, B, and C, and this is what I'm doing to resolve this issue, and you're like, oh, I have that issue too. I didn't even know it was an issue.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Because it's just been
Yeah.
such
And
a big part of what, your experience or whatever that you're
right.
like, oh, wait, so that's not right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Not a good thing. All right.
Well, and it's interesting on how you find things to be super normal, right? Until you talk to other people and you go, that's not normal. Wait, I shouldn't feel like that, or I should feel like that, or, you know, there is a different way to do that, or
I think
wait, the
that's
way
it.
I'm doing it is good, and now I can help you because you're struggling with that. Like, yeah, just having people to be interactive with each other, and whether it be online or in person or just on a screen, with messages back and forth, it really does help us kind of digest all the things that we're going through as human beings, right? Because I don't care who you are, we're all going through something.
Yeah,
There's not one
absolutely.
of us that is like, I have no problems ever, and I just live in my bubble, and it's so pretty here.
Well, someone
And
might say that, but like
but that's what I'm saying. Like,
not a true human experience.
right. And so we all have our things, right? We all have our things. And I think being part of a trusted community helps you to sort out your things, whatever your things are. And it doesn't mean that you go into the group and you just kind of like just throw all your stuff, you know, out
Throw it
on,
all out there.
yeah, throw it out on the floor and be like, I just want to complain for 1 hour. But it is a place where,
That's called therapy.
right,
You pay for
but
that.
it is a place where that's why I kind of structure the meetings. I put it on the board. I send out emails. I send out links and stuff like that because I want you to come in and have kind of like a thought process of where we're going to go in this hour, right? And
Yeah,
then
and
if
what's
you
next?
want something else for the next time we all meet, or if you want something else on the board, then that's your time to like kind of like throw that out there and be like, hey, I'm having this issue. Can we talk about this next time? Is anybody
Yeah.
else having this issue? Or I found this great way to deal with this. Can we talk about that next time? And so I believe that, when we all get together and we have meaningful conversation, we can really solve so many things that we don't even know that we're solving. We're just having conversation and we're just connecting and communicating and being respectful and honest and caring. and holding space. And that's really what it's all about. It's all about you're not alone, I'm not alone. You're just as important as I am. And we should all come together and do great things, whatever those great things are.
So last week we talked about fear-based decisions,
Mm-hmm.
and then as opposed to joy-based and the difference between them.
Right.
So when are your next upcoming meetings, and do you have topics for discussions?
Yeah. So the next meetings will be so the next meeting um, for in person is tomorrow, and then the following Wednesday will be the Zoom. And those topics are taking things personal, trying not to take things personal, and also talking or speaking in definitive.
Ah,
So,
okay.
we say a lot of things as a definitive, such as always and never, and things of that nature. And then we take a lot of things personally because of our own things that we've been through, our own programming. And so we'll be talking through those two things in the next meetings.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I put things up on the board. I write blogs and I put the blogs on the board, and most of the discussions are based off the blogs unless somebody brings up a different topic, and then I work through questions for those topics.
So, which a lot of them are also podcast episodes on friendship, wellness, and wisdom. So, you'll make sure to check those out because they're very entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the other I share friendship, wellness, and wisdom podcast on the Discord as well. So
Which is great. So, check us out because,
yeah,
they're so much fun.
yeah. So I do clips of our episodes and I put them on the when we have the topic or whatever and we're talking about the topic,
Mhm.
I link like a little snippet of the podcast and then, this is what we're going to be talking about and this is what it looks like and things like that. So, yeah, I think,
All
community is
right.
important and we need it right now. We need community right now.
No, absolutely. No, creating spaces for people to be open and honest and connect with themselves and one another is just really important. And you've
Mhm.
kind of come up with a way to make it very accessible to so many people. So if
Yeah.
you can't get there in person, you can show up for a conversation like on a Zoom call, or you can check out the Discord and just see what's up there on the board and check out, what we're going through. You sent out two after the discussion. You sent out like the 5 4 3 2 1
Yes.
for
Yeah.
grounding, it's a great exercise. I do use that all of the time, actually, if I start to feel like anxious or like over energized. And what else went out with that?
It was just the two forms of the 5 4 3 2 1. So it's
Okay.
using all your senses. So you're taking yourself out of that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn
Hmm.
when you're making fear-based decisions instead of joy-based decisions. So
Right.
once you let your brain know that you're safe, then you can move into a good decision making instead of just going into the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn and kind of not really being in touch with what's going on.
Yeah, so which was really great. Like I said, I've used that one numerous times and it always works.
Always.
Like it does because you always in
Yeah.
definitively it always works
Definitively.
every time. Um, but it does bring you back into your body, into the
Hmm.
present moment, and lets you know that there is no tiger chasing you, and you are not about to get eaten or
Yeah.
destroyed or implode.
Yeah.
So,
And it does tell you if there is truly danger, right?
and
Do I
yes,
smell?
you can also, if there's
Yeah.
something, do I smell smoke? And I think that may have been the first time I think that clicked for me, like that version of it, because most of the time it's literally to alert that you are okay, and what's happening is
Yeah.
usually like a thought rate, based process. And then you're like, well, if you're using all your senses and you hear sirens and you smell smoke, and I'm like, oh, holy crap. Like that was like a whole new thing just clicked for me. And I'm like, wow, duh. Okay.
Yeah, it's so funny because I teach that. Like because that's part of CBT. Well, and it's part of CBT, and I teach it, and I have the worksheets for it and stuff like that. And so when I teach it, like people are like, "Oh, so I'll just get into my present state and I'll be okay." And I'm like, "Well, first you have to make sure that the
That your present
surroundings
state
are
is
okay."
okay. Yeah.
Because like if you're in a stressful situation,
You got to
it
run.
it might not be okay. You might
Yeah.
be like stressing out because it's like really dangerous.
The thing is you're there, you're aware, you know what's going on, and you can now run.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, so it's so funny because most of the people when I talk about that, they're like, "Oh yeah, like if I touch the door and the door's hot, the fire's on the other
And there's
side
a
of the door."
fire. Yeah, exactly. You're like,
Yeah.
oh wait, wow, that works both ways. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of people are the same way. They're just like, "Huh. Hmm.
I'm
Okay."
like, yeah, I'm like I said, I have been practicing this for like a year now, and I was like, oh, what? I never even thought of it like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
I had never
what?
thought that there once
It
I
works that
tap
way
in, there's
too.
really danger. What? What?
What? Yeah, no, no. Oh,
Dang
all right. Now
it.
I feel like we're getting very silly at this point, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that we had the opportunity to talk about this. We had lots of other topics, and I said to Heather, I'm like, I really kind of liked that conversation last week, and that felt so good to do that. I'm like, let's do an episode on what's going on in this community that, you're developing and creating, and let people know a little bit more about it. So that's what's going on.
Yeah.
So just, if you're following See Life as a Muse, go check it out, get all the information, go to the Discord, check out an in-person meeting, or,
Yeah.
sign up for the Zoom, get your invitation, come chat with us. It'll be fun. I'm going to try to jump on again next Wednesday as well.
Yeah.
Like get on whenever I can. I make a lot of appointments on Wednesdays, so it's
Yeah.
sometimes I can get there, sometimes I can't because I'm in a completely different time zone. So
Yeah. And I don't have any days off, so I
yeah,
just have to kind of pepper them in as well. They might stay on Wednesdays, they might not. I don't know. But the
very
Discord
precious.
will
But yeah,
tell
go
you.
check it out. Yes, exactly. So check out the Discord to find out all that very, very important information.
Yes. And the
Um,
Discord is just See Life as a Muse. So it's the same, like all my stuff is the same, See Life as a Muse.
so yeah, thank you for listening. And, we really encourage you to go and check that out and use it, as you will. Whatever space that, you want to occupy or utilize, that is there for you to share,
Mhm.
to take, to do
Yeah.
whatever. So, the space is there for you. All
Yeah, totally. So
right.
thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Friendship, Wellness, and Wisdom. Don't forget to subscribe or follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on social media for more updates. See you next time.